morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio, so today we need to talk about Twilight Masquerade. And we need to talk about the fact that, the prices for Twilight Masquerade, as we might have expected, as I predicted, they are not holding, I think would be a polite way to put it. Well, you see this every time a set releases. We get the pre-release happening 2 weeks before the regular release, the full release, and we get the pre-release prices going absolutely silly. And then the full release comes, supply is way better, and the prices of these cards just absolutely drop. And it's fun. So I thought we'd go and look at a bunch of examples and see exactly what's going on. And of course, and we do need to remember to do this because this is quite important, whether there might be any exceptions. Because remember, sometimes we do actually see that there are certain cards that rather than crashing in price, actually end up going up. So let's start off with what was one of the big cards on the release of the set, Carmine. People were, right on the release, right as it was starting, people were, and these are confirmed solds on eBay, 110, 110, 130. Carmine is a very, very expensive card. It's one of the most sought after in the entire set. What do we see for the last couple of solds for Carmine? Because I think solds really is where we need to go for this. Because otherwise, people can list them for anything. What do we get from the last couple of solds? It's not a million miles away. It's honestly not a million miles away. They're all around $90 to $100. Now, there is a 115 kind of nestled in there as a little bit of an exception, but generally speaking, we are talking about $100. Now, that is a little bit less than it was on release, but really not that much at all. Carmine, the hype is real with Carmine. The set is out. The cards are in hand, and Carmine is really not dropping like we might expect. If we have a look over on TCG Player, we do see a drop, and it's generally going for about $100 on there, but it's gone from like 120 to 100. Now, there has been a drop, let's be clear. This is cheaper now than it was on release, but I'm not saying this is some kind of like super mega crazy drop. I'm saying there has been a little bit of a drop. It's going down, but it's not absolutely huge. What about some of the other cards that we looked at the other day? One of the other ones I showed you the other day was Perin. I showed you this one was selling for about $90 to $95. Clearly, a huge amount of money. Clearly, and you can probably tell by the tone of my voice here, more than I think it should be going for. Put it that way. Well, the last couple of solds for Perin, if we go and have a look over on eBay, they're a little bit better. Quite a bit better, actually. We've got a 60, an 80, and a 65. And actually, directly below this, you can't see it, there's a 50. So this one is a little bit all over the place, but $50 to $70-ish is roughly where we're looking. And yeah, I know these are from different countries, so the price is varying a little bit in different markets as well. That is worth pointing out. But certainly, even on the higher end here, they're not approaching the $90, $95 we saw on release. If we have a look over on TCG Player, things get really interesting. Now, they've got it starting at $80, going down to $55, and then going back up to $75. But if you look at the last couple solds, 90 and 100. Now, I'm not buying that, just to be clear. I don't think that's legit, because I've just shown you the eBay prices. I've just shown you, as I record, the last couple of sold on eBay. They don't agree with TCG Player. So you've got to bear that in mind, that actually TCG Player looks a little bit high, or maybe the price is crashing everywhere but the US. But then again, the last US I showed you sold for $80. That's 20% less than the ones on TCG Player. So Perin is going down, but it's not quite as uniform as you might have been led to believe. What about Bloodmoon Ursaluna? That was like $85 to $100 when I showed you the other day. What are we looking at in terms of prices over on eBay right now? What are they selling for? What have the last couple sold for? Well, there's lots of best offer accepted, but they're all around about the $70 mark. But then because they're best offer accepted, they are a little bit lower. So we're talking somewhere around $65, $70. That's what we're seeing over on eBay. That is a significant fall. So this one seems to be working out quite nicely. This one is going as you might expect. And we do expect this. We do expect the prices to crash on release. That is not a weird or unusual thing. This is something we expect. Carmine and Perin aren't going exactly like we'd expect. Bloodmoon Ursaluna absolutely is. Look at the graph on TCG Player. This one is unequivocal. It's gone from $100 as a pre-sale. And yes, we know pre-sale is always a little bit higher. That is not lost on me. But you see, there's a big drop down to 80. And there's then a second big drop down to 60. And one thing to bear in mind is, even if you have a couple of bigger cards that are holding their value a little bit on the release, that doesn't mean the set as a whole isn't dropping. It means there are a couple of exceptions. But overall, generally speaking, we are seeing a fairly significant drop across the board. Even Carmine and Perin are going down. They're just not going down quite as fast or quite in the way as we might be expecting. But they are still very much on the way down, let's be clear. So what about a bunch of other cards? Well, if we look generally speaking, it's just a crash party all over the place. Gold Buddy Buddy Poffin, pre-selling for about $80. It's gone down to like $45. Sure, there's a tiny little uptick at the bottom of the graph there on TCG Player, but let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Gold Buddy Buddy Poffin is an extremely cool card, and I pulled this one. So if this wants to go and explode and be like a $500 card, that's all right by me. I have this card. But the reality of the situation is, it's gone down now, and it's going to keep going down for a little while yet. Cool card, but it was never going to last. Full Art Dragapult, that was looking like one of the bigger cards in the set, actually went from a pre-sale of 25 up to 35, and it's now dropped to 20. And I'm just putting it out there, I am looking with great suspicion and cynicism at the free that sold for $35. No. There is no way somebody paid $35 for 3 of these when it's a $20 card and it's just available much more easily at that kind of price. I refuse to believe it's true. There is an outside chance that there is someone who just really wanted 3 of the full art and that was the only one on TCG Player, maybe, but I'm just saying that is extremely fishy. Free selling at the same time for almost double market value, that doesn't strike me as about right. So I'm just, yeah. Lana's Aid, very cool card, lovely artwork. Pre-sale of about $75, it's dropped down to a $33 card. Which again is exactly what we would expect. Pre-sale prices are way higher than they should be, and the deal is essentially you are paying a premium to get the card super quickly. You know that you're, at least you should, I've made enough videos on it, that you're paying massively over the odds, but you just want the card now, you want the first one graded, you want to show off at League, whatever it might be, you can afford to pay a little bit more, and you're willing to do that to get the card a little bit earlier. So what about Teal Mask Ogapom? That's a card that has been absolutely getting hyped to the moon and back over the past week. Nah, that one still crashed from like $70 down to $45. Good card. Very playable. Getting hyped more and more every day. I'm seeing more and more posts about this card coming across my timeline every single day. But the reality of the situation is, nah, mate. Sorry. It's still absolutely crashing. I mean, even Greninja, which is way too high, has dropped down massively. That started at 140, jumped up to about 160, crashed to 110, and is now back up to, I mean, it says 125, but the last couple of solds would have us believe it's about a 135 card. It's still come down, but this card is too expensive. I'm not saying Greninja isn't a viable card. It is. I am saying it's not a metagame defining card, which would explain this. And I'm saying the artwork is good, but it's not exactly that good. Not this ridiculous level. This is higher than a Charizard would be right now. That's ridiculous. Even Greninja, and I just showed you the graph. Greninja has come down, but I think it's fair to say that one is a little bit way too high. And then we could just pick a bunch of random ones. We could spend the next hour picking random cards. Sinisteri X, massive crash from $32 pre-sale down to like $20 now. I could do this with almost every card in the set if you really want me to, though I fear it might get slightly repetitive. The point is, these cards are coming down, and yeah, Carmine and Perin are taking a little while longer than maybe they should, although, again, cannot stress enough, have been coming down, but the set as a whole, as expected, absolutely crashing. But I've told you now, so now it's over to you guys. Tell me what you think about this. Tell me which cards you pull from the set. Tell me how excited you are for everything else in the set. Tell me anything you want to tell me in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. And get shout outs on the channel like the lovely Eric Ridgway, who's been a supporter of ours for a long time now and is a very lovely person. So shout out to them for the support and the loveliness. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.